sun is setting. It's been a long day. I had to take my vehicle in to get fixed, but the sun is now not really shining on the garden, so I thought, you know what, maybe it's a good time to plant my tomato plants and possibly my cucumbers, depending. We're supposed to get a lot of rain tomorrow, so again, I'm taking the opportunity. There's rain coming, and whether I get them in tonight or tomorrow in the rain, I don't know, but it's gonna happen. Anyways, I thought I'd just show you what I do when I plant my tomatoes. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually just put them along in here. And the sun is not too hot right now, so it's a really good time to put them in. So we're just gonna throw, some of these tomatoes don't look too good. The ones I did into bigger pots did better, and then I ran out of time and didn't get to the other ones. So they're a bit lanky and almost dead looking, but I know that once I put them in the ground, they're gonna come back. Because a tomato, surprising, a tomato is essentially, it's like a weed and it thrives to grow. So I've got my essentials for planting my tomato plants out here. This is one of the ones that I didn't put into bigger pots, and it's looking, it's not too bad, but it's not too happy either. Next thing I have is a scoop. Next thing you want to have is Epsom salts. All right, so we're just going to dig this hole up for a tomato. And you want to dig it quite deep. It's still fairly wet. I don't know if you can see that, but the soil's pretty good. It's not too wet, but it's not dried out either. Oh, you can see the size of this here, but that's pretty much almost in. And I think that's sufficient, because if this tomato isn't super big like my other tomatoes, all I'm going to do is put a little bit in, a little bit in the hole. Again, never pull. You always want to dump it over or put on its top and get it to come out. And again, we're going to just break these little ones off. And I might even take this one here off. Let's see how that goes. And I'm going to take one more off because I think it needs it. All right, so there's this one here. I'm going to take off. Okay, you can see how that looks. Just like a little palm tree, it looks like. So that's down there in the hole quite well, quite deep, and we are just going to fill it back in. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more Epsom salts, and you're just going to sprinkle it around. And essentially what's going to happen is tomorrow when the rain, or tonight when the rain comes, it's going to water the Epsom salts in and give it its nutrients that it needs. So the next tomato that I'm going to plant, like I said, it's a sad looking tomato. It's kind of dried up. It's going to do fine. It's bush beefsteak, and it's a determinant. Okay, so it looks good enough. You can see how deep it is. And I'm just going to tip this over, and this is a bush beefsteak determinate plant. Okay, Epsom salts. Just like that. So I just got done planting some of, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 24 tomato plants. I still have probably about 30 more to plant, but I'm going to see what I can fit in the greenhouse first. Then whatever I don't have room for in the greenhouse, I'll bring out here and transplant some more outside. I've still got about 22 spots left for tomatoes outside here where I usually do. I usually put in about between 30 and 40, maybe 50 tomato plants. And so I do a lot of canning. I can the tomatoes for sauces, just whole tomatoes, and I do a lot of dehydrating with my tomatoes as well. So, and the nice thing is when you're dehydrating them, they last longer, and you can add them to any sauce. So say if you had a sauce, you could add it to it. If you're making a lasagna, anything in its soups, you just throw them in and they will rehydrate, and they do add a really nice fresh flavor. So there's lots of things you can do. So and you can freeze them too. So anyways, right now I'm just gonna plant, I have a hard time growing my eggplants. I don't like the traditional like big black eggplants, but my favorite is the ping tongue. I don't know if you can read that or not. It might be too close. Anyways, every year I try to grow these, start them from seed, and I plant about 10 and only end up with 1 or 2. This year again, I've got 2. But you'd be amazed. They're quite little, but when you put them in the ground and transplant them, they can grow so big, and you can get a lot of these little purple skinny eggplants. And they're wonderful in any kind of stir-fried dishes, as well as my favorite way to cook these is to roast them. Roast them with beets and carrots, potatoes or sweet potatoes, and roast these as well with zucchini. Oh, they're so good roasted. Believe it or not, I actually started the eggplants when I started my tomatoes. So they haven't grown very much in these little pots. But I'm just going to make a little spot there for it. Shake. And I'm just going to separate them. A little bit more, maybe. Best to put that in. Anyways, we'll do another little video to see how well this grows. They're my favorite eggplants to plant, and they are delicious, and they grow really big, and they love being around tomatoes. So if you have a tomato patch, you know, stick a couple in with your tomatoes. Near your tomatoes, they do really well. Mosquitoes have found me. All the dragonflies are gone because the sun's kind of gone down. I think it's probably about 7:30. But like I said, I was gone most of the day in my vehicle at the shop. And tomorrow's supposed to rain, so, and before you know it, it's the end of the week again. All right, so what I have here is my romaine lettuce, as well as prize head lettuce, which I actually got these from Angie over at Me and You Acres, the seeds. So I'm going to try those out this year. I've never tried it before. I got lots of lettuce growing over in my lettuce raised bed. This is where I used to do my carrots, but again, it's inside the fence, so I'm going to plant those. I planted my carrots outside the fence, so I'm just going to put some lettuce in here since the chickens like to tend to eat the lettuce. I figured, why not? You don't need to go too deep with lettuce either. There's a rock. Weeds. Let's see if you can see that or not. So I'm just going to take lettuce and stick it in here. Another little lettuce, stick it over there. So you can either choose to, with the romaine, you can choose to eat them as like a baby leaves, or you can let them grow into a head. Either way, they just keep growing. They're wonderful. We grow lots of romaine. My favorite are the romaine, devil's ear, and I like the butter crunches. They're quite good. Always a little bit of love and a little bit of water, and they're going to do just fine. So technically I could put them further apart and I'd get bigger heads. Maybe that's just what I'll do. This one here. The best thing though when you're gardening is you don't want your weeds getting too big and the roots getting too deep. So if the more often you come, even if you just take a little fork or a little something and just scrape off those little tiny roots, it's less work later on. So the more often that you start off weeding, maybe every couple days in your garden, then later on you won't have as much weeding to do, because they stop growing. At a certain point it gets too hot for these little weeds to thrive. So anyways,